What's going on, guys? Thanks for jumping on. Wanted to go over what I'm seeing in the chart and quickly show you why we broke down today, why we had a huge jump up, and where do I think we're going. If you like what you're seeing, if you found this valuable, make sure you like and subscribe to the page, and let's dig in. Alright, so here is a picture of the daily chart where you can see that we just bounced off of this horizontal level, which is also a downward trend line that we found support on. But more importantly, it was the swing high over here and the beginning of this large breakout that we had over here where we found support, which is right around 53K. And it looked as though we were about to fall through, but we had a nice bounce off of the 100 moving average, which on my more recent video that I had on TradingView, you can see here that it's offered as a nice bounce point a couple of different times on this year. Here we found a nice bounce, here we found a nice bounce, even earlier in 2020, towards the end, we found a couple of bounce points off of the 100 MA that kept propelling us up and on. So as it stands, it looks like we could be seeing the signs of a much larger reversal bouncing off of this 100 moving average very nicely. So there was a lot of confluence with support there. Now, we just got rejected here. And I want to point out a couple things. One, OBV, the on-balance volume, which is to me a leading indicator as to where we're headed. A lot of times you'll see on-balance volume leading the way, showing which way the momentum is headed. And as you can see, we had broken out of this descending wedge on the daily OBV, and we're currently backtesting it. And on the RSI for the daily, we also broke out of the descending wedge it was in, and not quite backtesting, but it's rolling over a little bit. But what I would like to see is this OBV to sharply bounce here, pass this level, and move on, because that would probably get us past these resistance points that I have drawn in red on this red line and then this red box. These are a couple levels to look at. So you can see a couple of peaks here, 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 and here, where it's offered as a resistance point on the last run up. And as you can see over here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touch points off of this horizontal resistance line, coming all the way back over from the beginning of this year, and just now acting as resistance again, right here and here. And it looked like we were about to break out earlier today, but good old Powell talked about inflation and how basically it's not a big deal. Almost we should just embrace it. So that spooked the market altogether. You can look at the stock market, and you can see that the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ all down 1.5 today. So Bitcoin, when it got up to about 59.3 today, once that announcement came out, sharply rejected. But we had a nice recovery since, because we were low 56 earlier after that announcement. So it's nice to see it recovered. Another thing to look at is this box up here. This is the 60,000, 61,000 level. And more precisely, if you look at it on a smaller time frame, you can see here rejection, 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 rejection. So that's roughly 60,800 that we need to get past to really have the bulls back in control. But until that point, really, I would say that we're back underneath. If we can't reclaim it this week, then we're probably going to be falling back to this green box, which is the 53, 52K level. And really, it's on the bulls to really push through here. I mean, this is the chance. We're retesting this downward trend line, We're currently at the 100 moving average on the 4 hour, and we've had multiple rejection points here. But the trend is your friend, and right now on the low time frame we're pushing forward, but look for one more up thrust that doesn't get through, that would essentially start this rolling over here again, and that would be the beginning of another move down towards the end of the bottom of this descending wedge. And as I said here, I would say if we can't capture at least the 59,000 level getting out of the descending wedge above the 100 moving average on the 4 hour, and really I'd like to see above 60,800 by the end of this week. Likelihood is higher that we roll back over and retest this green box area, probably as low as even 51K, before we want to retest the top of the descending wedge and break out and hopefully get back to that 60,000, 61,000 level. So that's the macro view. Really, if we want to jump into a lower time frame and see kind of what we're looking like here, you can see that we were in a megaphone pattern. And as you can see here, I've got it listed what a megaphone pattern is. It's also called a broadening wedge. It can signal as a reversal pattern, and then sometimes it can be continuation. So right now it's a little bit undecided which way we're going to be headed, a little bit clear on the 30-minute chart. But as of right now, we're kind of in between. We're finding support on the 100 moving average on the 30-minute. But these low time frame charts tend to have a lot of chop, especially on the Bitcoin chart. There's been a lot of stop hunts, a lot of invalidations on these higher time frame levels when you're looking at the small low time frames. So you could, let's say for instance we're on the 1 hour, you could say, okay, we want to get above let me show you here what I'm talking about. So say we want to get above this key resistance level. Maybe we're looking at the descending wedge. Well, you can see that there's been a lot of chop between these levels. But on the daily, there's just been wicks, but really the candle closes have all been underneath these key resistance levels. So really it's always good to map out on the higher time frames where you anticipate a bounce, where's the support, where's the resistance, so that you have a clear picture if you're wanting to trade intraday and on lower time frames. What are the key levels? Where might I have a bounce point? And don't get overexcited at resistance or support if there's a break on a low time frame, because there's still plenty of time on a higher time frame for it to pull back. And earlier today, the 4 hour was about to close above this level, and huge nasty wick below. Huge nasty wick below is gnarly. So just pay attention to what time frame you're looking at, and make sure that you know where the high time frame areas of interest are before making big moves, unless you're just trying to scalp on low time frames. Everybody can trade differently, but I think it's always a good rule of thumb to know exactly where horizontal levels of resistance are. You may want to pay attention to some indicators as another reference point. I know a lot of people like to trade off of the Fibonacci. So, you could go here from the last high to this last low and see what it looks like. Let me just clear out all the drawings. So so from the last high to this last low, you can see that the 382 has been almost perfectly in line with that resistance line here I had mapped out. It's a little bit higher, but it's pretty close. And so this would be definitely a level to watch for. As you can see, a bunch of rejection points on the 4 hour here. So currently we're kind of in between levels. You could probably move it down, get a little bit cleaner here. And then also, like I was saying, with Fibonacci and some of these other indicators, if you're not looking at horizontal levels or trend lines, it's also good to look at the big picture to get a more accurate view of where we're at on the lower time frames. Because you don't want your low time frame indicators and trend lines and patterns to dictate what your macro view is. You need to make sure it's vice versa. The bias should always come from a higher time frame and not the lower time frame. It's good to see as a leading indicator on the lower time frames where we might be going, but until proven otherwise on the daily, 3-day, weekly, monthly, if it's bullish, overall your sentiment, your feeling should be bullish. And then, like I said, it just depends on how you trade. But if you're a swing trader, investor, those are the higher time frames are where you want to stick to when you're looking at overall bias. So if you're doing from the last high here to the low in this year, then you're going to see that we had closed a couple of days above here on the all-time high. But on the weekly, you can see we're right at the 786. And yeah, there's a little bit of a close right above, but a very swift move back below. But right now we're finding support right at the 786 on the Fibonacci's extension tool. So definitely this 57,133 level on the weekly, I would say, is important to hold. And then on the monthly, you can see that this monthly close here, or open, is almost in line with 786. So yeah, really I'd like to see us not on this, because today is the last day of the month. I would like to see us close above $57,822. Even better would be this last high, which was $58,769. A close below would definitely slant towards maybe falling even deeper this next month. Not to say we couldn't bounce below a close here, but would like to see a retest of this level on the monthly hold, and then that would give more justification for a nice strong bounce going into December. Moon-vember, as they say. But as of right now on the daily, which I like to live in a lot, the daily chart looks like we found nice support off the 100 moving average. We're currently above the 786 on the daily. So to me, if we can clear the levels of interest I told you, around 60, 61K, then we should be headed up to at least retest this horizontal level here at right about here at 63, and maybe even all the way up to the previous all-time high at 65 roughly. So that's just a picture of where I believe we are right now. And why do I think we're headed to 70K? Well, I do think that we could be in an Elliott wave, where it would be an A, B, C, D, E type of move, and it would look something like this. Where at least 75K, really, I believe, matching this wave, we'd be at roughly 80K. I know my title said 70K, but I do believe that we are in the process of completing the E-wave on these higher time frames. And you can also see here, if I do somewhat a parabolic curve, you can see touch point, touch point, touch point, and we could be continuing up this ladder here. So I think there's a lot of reason to feel very bullish on where we're at. And don't let these small time frame chops scare you from your higher time frame sentiment. I think right now we're fine. But like I said, this week would like to see us reclaim 59 and 60K to really feel like we're headed in the right direction towards 70K. But I'm definitely leaning that way. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. And if there's any charts that you're interested in, any altcoins, message me on YouTube, find me on Twitter at @DougCryptologist. And I'm really good about responding. I'll make sure and get on and chart what you're looking at and give you an idea where I think it's headed. I'm also on TradingView. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you found this valuable.